Hey everyone, I just want to run through using an IDE, and there's a lot of IDEs available in C Sharp. We were using one called Replit, which I really love, but it costs money, and so we're transitioning now. And I'm going back to an old one, which was Visual Studio Code, but there are a lot of different environments and configuration options in Visual Studio. So I think for this semester, what we'll do is just standardize on using CodeSpaces in GitHub, and then use GitHub to share your project code with me for your lab. So I am inside of my GitHub repository. I just logged in, and I'm going to click Create up in this top right corner. I'm going to click on this drop down for the plus and click on Create New Repository, and give my repository name Programming Logic. I've already used that. I'm going to add a 1. You can just use programming logic for yours. And I'll give it a description of projects for IT-1050 programming logic. You can create it as private. There is a student developer pack that gives you a lot of options there. If you do create it as private, you're going to need to add me as a collaborator. So once you're in your repository, you just click on Settings, Collaborators, and Add Me. I'm going to click Add README File. It just adds an MD file to the top of the repository. And you can go in and modify that readme.md file to describe what your files are. Kind of a nice thing if you want to use this as a portfolio. And then click on Create Repository. It'll create the repository for us. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to click on this drop down for code, and I'm going to create a code space. So click on Create Code Space on main. And notice it opened up a new tab in your browser window, so your repository is still open. And it's going to open up kind of an online version of Visual Studio Code. It takes a while the first time it runs, but after the first time, it loads pretty quickly. Okay, so at the bottom we can see it's now given us a prompt. So I've got my username, and then here's the path. And right at the end here, I can type in some commands. And right at the moment, the only thing we have is our README file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use this command that allows us to create a project for C# code. And the command is .NET new console, and then -O, we say option O, and then the name of the lab. So for lab 1, it'll just be lab 1. Don't put spaces in there. And this directive at the end, use program main, is going to create a starting file with the main method, which is what we want to see for this class. So I'm going to hit enter, and you'll see it's creating up in this top upper left-hand corner this lab 1 directory, and it has a project file that's just like settings for the project, so don't change that. And then program.cs, and this is our starting code for our project. Okay, also notice in the bottom left-hand corner, a little pop-up showed up. It says, do you want to install the recommended C# dev kit? And yes, we do. So go ahead and click install if you see that. If you passed by that for some reason, I want to show you how to add that on your own. In the left side menu, towards the bottom there, there's this kind of building blocks icon, and that's for extensions. If I click on that, I can type in C#, and you'll see the first thing that pops up is C# dev kit. And C# is also available, and that would help us to build our projects and stuff, but the C# dev kit is what you want. That's going to give us the debug tools that we want. So I'm going to click on install, and when I do that, you'll see on the right hand side it starts to install the product, shows you a little status going across. It's going to take a couple minutes to install. Just let it do its thing there, and we'll just wait for that to install. And now it's installed, and you can see over here on the left, you can see that it's highlighted, And I'm going to just close this, or you can click back on this Explorer. So I'm going to click back on now on the left-hand side, this Explorer, and go back to our source code. Okay, so now we've got the CodeSpaces set up. We've got the files created, and we can run the project. You notice after we added that C# dev kit that we have this run menu. So we can run the project. So if I click on run, it'll take a second and it'll build the project. So it's going to compile it and link any files needed together. And then it's going to run this code, which is just going to run this console.writeLine statement, and you can see the output right here. So hello world, that's what it output. So now you have an IDE. You can come in here and write another line of code. It has all the nice features of an IDE with the autocomplete. It's going to give us little debug marks on the code itself. And I can, after I change the code, I can run it again. Now we can see the output, which is hello world and welcome. And after you're done with your code, you need to make sure that you check it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this source control icon on the left, and we're going to commit and push our code. So when we're working with GitHub, we could save our files locally if we're working with a local IDE. But in order for those changes that we make to go to GitHub, we need to first commit it, and that's just basically marking which files we've changed and want to put into our repository. And then we push, and the push is kind of synonymous with uploading the changes. So it's kind of like a power save where you're creating multiple versions of the file. So what we want to do is we want to put a little message in here. So this is for ourselves or for someone reading the changes later on, just to say created lab1. And we can click on this commit. I like to click on this ... and oh, where's it at? It's a little bit different than the, click on this drop down arrow. And if you click on the drop down arrow, you can do the commit and push all in one feature. So if you did a commit, you would then need to do a push, or you can click on this drop down arrow and do commit and push at the same time. So now it's taking our changes and it's putting them into a repository. So now if we come back to our repository and we refresh it, we'll see a lab1 folder. And if I click into lab1, you'll see this program.cs. We can open it up inside of our repository. And then I'm gonna, if you click in the address bar, which is just above the top of the video there, I see, you can copy that path, and I'll just look at it here. I don't want you to put it into the file, but I just want to show you what it looks like. So here's the path that I grabbed, and this is the path that I want you to paste into your Brightspace assignment. So take that out of the address bar, cancel the changes here, and that is the path that you want to submit in Brightspace. Okay, one more quick thing I wanted to show you guys is debugging. So a really nice part of these IDEs is the ability to step through an interactive debug mode. So if you click on the left-hand side gutter here, you can see it creates this red button. There's red dot next to the line. And then if we run it, what's going to happen is it's going to pause running the code at that line, and oh, did it not? Oh, I need to select the drop-down arrow and say debug instead of run. And once you're in debug mode, then it highlights the current line that you're going to run, and you can click step over or step into, and it'll run to the next line of code and pause, and then run to the next line until it gets to the end of the program. Additionally, we can put in a variable, and I'm going to move the breakpoint up, and I'm going to click debug. And now when we're debugging, we can see on the left-hand side, here's our variable that we created, and you can see that it's equal to null at the moment. Now it's equal to change. So you can kind of watch the local variables that are available to you as you're running the code. So really nice feature. I recommend using this debug feature throughout the semester as we go through conditions and loops, and you can kind of see what happens with the code. And what do we need to do after we've written our code and we're all done? Well, I'm going to stop execution of the program, go back to source control, modified lab 1, and then I'm going to click the drop-down arrow commit and push. Don't forget to do that or you'll lose your changes. Okay.